Hello and welcome to the magic of fishing. Welcome to the Royal Berkshire Fishery too. That's where I've come today from home, about a 25-minute drive. It's a Sunday afternoon. I'm feeling a little bit worse for wear if I'm honest. Had a very good night round at my Irish neighbour's house last night, and I think we finished the night with some Japanese whiskey, so quite a multicultural evening, and I felt better, but what a hangover cure it is to come out on a day like this and get some fresh air. And it's nearly Christmas. It's mid-December, real nip in the air, and we've had some hard frosts in the last few weeks. It's not too cold today actually. It's really the wind that's a bit nippy, but it's double digits, just about 10 degrees. And conditions apart from the bright sunshine are pretty good for the fish that I'm targeting today, which a big perch, or one big perch, would be nice. Perch of any size will be welcome too. It's just great to get out and have a couple of floats out in the water. I have bought a ticket for 2 rods, and I've picked a swim that's got really good marginal cover, both sides, just fishing in the margins, and we've got overhanging shrubs or trees that are protruding right out into the water, and they're the kind of snags that the big perch in this lake like to hide out in. And I've brought a range of baits to catch them with, which I'll show you now. And first up are the old faithful red maggots. Wouldn't come perch fishing without them, and I'll be feeding them constantly, just trickling them in over both floats, partly to attract perch but also to attract small silvers, and as we all know, that bait fish activity can bring in the attention of big perch. So I'll keep those maggots going in. And another bait you can't really come perch fishing without is worms. So I've got a few dendrobinas for the hook, especially if it's proving hard. Try and catch some smaller stuff maybe. But when I was at home, I also grabbed some worm cast soil, really dark, sort of composty, peaty looking stuff, but you can get it from tackle shops or online, bagged up, and it's got a real worm flavour. Obviously it's had worms living in it for a while. It's usually what worm breeders have used to keep their stock in, and very cheap, effective ground bait. So I'll be keeping a bit of the soil going in as well as the red maggots. That'll cloud up the water a bit and add that worm scent. And the other 2 hook baits I've brought to give a go, particularly for singling out the better fish, are growing in popularity these days. First of which is prawns. Good old fat juicy king prawns. I do actually prefer the raw variety, but cooked was all I could get from the co-op this morning. So I'll be giving them a go, and I think for these big commercial perch that have grown fat on silvers, either dead or alive silvers, they're probably the next best thing to using a small dead bait, which you're not allowed to do here, but great way of targeting the bigger fish. Does sometimes pick up a carp, which depending on your mood is welcome or not. I'm always happy to catch a winter carp, so might have a chance of one of those as well as the perch. But I'm also going to be putting these prawns up against another more unusual test, which is these dyed shrimps. I think they're primarily designed as salmon baits, and they've been popular for salmon for many years, but I found them online. You can buy them at Willy Worms, and they are packed in salt and dyed bright red, so very handy if you're fishing the red maggots as well and you want a bright red theme for those winter perch. And yeah, I'll be giving them a go. Because I've paid for 2 rods, I'll be giving both baits a go and seeing if I can find what the perch are after today. Well, we've got a first fish, but I don't think it's a perch. It's flashing silver. needing the net for this one, just to be on the safe side. I'm actually fishing quite heavy because not only would I not want to lose a big perch, but there are some big carp in this lake, as I said, and certainly if I hook one of those by accident on the worm or the prawn, you need some strong gear. But I'm not complaining about that. A lovely pre-Christmas roach on the worm. So we can keep going on the worm, and if we're getting pestered, not pestered, but if we're picking up too many of these silvers, we can obviously give the prawn a go, which I intend to do anyway once the light starts dropping a bit. But let's get this one back. And that's what we got him on. Large dendrobina. We'll keep going with this, and like I say, we can always change baits if we're not getting the perch. Just swinging the rigs out, drawing the float back under these branches, protruding branches, and keeping that bait going in. A few maggots and a little bit of the soil. Looks like very dark ground bait. That really does cloud the water up nicely. And I wouldn't normally fish 2 float rods like this, but it is the middle of December. We've had some hard frost. I'm not expecting a lot of action. Only got a short session, and it's great when you have got a cold session like this, where you can try different baits, try different spots, until you work out what's really working. And definitely as the light fades, I'll be trying the shrimp versus the prawn. And if one seems to be doing better, or one of the spots is better, I probably will bring the other rod in and really focus on one. But as long as you're fishing in a tight peg like this and close in, it's very easy to keep an eye on both of them. And they shouldn't get in the way of each other, because I'm fishing one on the left, one on the right. So yeah, we'll keep fishing with 2 rods to begin with. We'll see what's happening, and if I can work out a pattern, or a bait, or one of the sides that's fishing better, I'll perhaps move to 1 rod. But give myself maximum opportunity in a short session. You can see I've got the 2 rods set up side by side, short rests, and they're both within easy reach, but the right hand one, just dropping the float in under these branches here, or just off the edge of them. Float's actually drifting a little bit away from the snag, but that's where I'm feeding and fishing over to the left. So the rods are both side by side, but the rigs are quite some distance apart. Easy enough to keep an eye on, but not close enough to get in the way of each other if I do hook a fish. The left hand rod's probably the more modern setup. It's a Gray's Prodigy Specialist rod, and that's paired with a small matrix reel with some strong Maxima on there, 6-pound Maxima. So it's a pretty beefy outfit, this one. Shouldn't have any problems if I do hook one of the big carp that live in here. Now this second outfit, which I've got fishing over to the right, is somewhat weaker and older than the other setup, and there's a nice story about it actually. It's an unbranded rod. I think it's graphite, cork handle, still in remarkably good nick considering its age. Maroon blank, not the slimmest as you can see, and maroon matching whippings. But it's about a 10 foot, 11 foot classic old school match rod, and this came into my possession during a Christmas, fittingly, a Christmas raffle with my old fishing club, Dronfield Woodhouse Sports and Social Club near Sheffield. My granddad joined me up for that club when I was a young lad, and I'm still a member. I've been a member there for about 40 years now, over 40 years, and it's a very special club. I write about it in my book, The Magic of Fishing, quite a lot, and still got some very good friends there that I meet up with every summer when I go back up to Sheffield to see my dad and the rest of my family and fish some matches. And this rod was a prize that I won in a Christmas raffle for Dronfield Woodhouse Sports and Social Club many years ago, about 4 decades ago. It was the most exciting night, I think, of my young life at the time, right up there with Christmas Eve anyway. But yeah, I'd entered this raffle every year since I was a young boy and never really won anything worth writing home about. And then this particular year I won this rod. My son Fred, who's a teenager now, he's fished with it. He's not a mad keen fisherman like me, but he dabbles, and he's used this rod. I like to think it's his rod. And I even remember, even though I was a young boy of 10 or 11, when I won this rod, I remember thinking, if I ever have a son or a daughter who's into fishing, I'll give this rod to them, because I'd already got a favourite match rod at the time. So I have used it a few times over the years, but it was set up from a recent session that I'd had with my lad Fred, and I thought, hey, why not stick it in the car and bring it and fish with it today. So yeah, more modern setup down the left, and this very nostalgic special rod fishing down the right. And if one of them can pick me up a nice perch or even a few small perch, I'll be a very happy man. And I almost forgot to mention, paired with this lottery win of a rod is a Mitchell reel, really old Mitchell reel that I've had since I was a teenager as well. So yeah, very nostalgic setup. It's not quite what we're after, but the first perch of the day, just about. Of course, on a winter's day like today, it's important that you wrap up warm, especially if any rain's forecast. None today, but good waterproof jacket. I've got thermal bib and braces on, and a good few layers under that, thermals, fleeces, and the old welly boots. So yeah, make sure you wrap up warm, but it really is worth getting out, even when it looks pretty uninviting through the window. And another good tip, of course, is bring something hot to drink. Coffee in this case, strong and black. I always remember fishing with my granddad. He was a bit of a warm weather man, really, a fair weather fisherman, as they say. Preferred it in summer. But when we did go out on a cold October or maybe November day, he'd always take a flask with him, and I remember he had a tartan one with a white plastic cup, and he'd always make his coffee with instant coffee, really milky. Not my style really, but as a young lad I didn't really drink coffee anyway, but he'd always give me a cup, and his favourite thing to do was put a big splash of rum in there, which was certainly a bit of a shock to a young lad who wasn't used to drinking strong spirits like I was last night. But yeah, always enjoy coffee on a cold day's fishing, and always reminds me of my granddad. Cheers. A lovely Christmas robin enjoying a few maggots. The birds are biting. And prawns are a very filling bait. I've sometimes found if you get a bit excited and overfeed, you can kill even a very active swim, especially in winter when the appetites aren't quite as strong as they would be in warmer water, although perch are a cold water species. But I do chop up a few little pieces with scissors and just keep flicking them out. Just 3 or 4 around each float, and I think that helps them get a taste for it sometimes with a big full-sized prawn or one of these little shrimps on the hook. When the fish feel like a block of ice, they all count. Roach. And we've got a better fish on the prawn. Yes, it's a perch. Not the biggie we came for, but lovely fish all the same. That just goes to show the power of the prawn. Just hooked in the scissors. That's a nice perch. So not the monster we've come for, but lovely start. And he was ready for a prawn. Let's give the shrimp a go next. Slip him back. And another fish on the worm. With another roach this time. Nice little bar of silver. And although roach of that stamp are a bit too big for most of the perch in here, that activity will still be hopefully drawing in some perch on this right hand margin as well. So I'm sticking with the worm for the moment, keeping the maggots going in over the top, and got a shrimp down on the left. Well, the roach have been coming thick and fast on this right hand margin spot on the worm, and I've been encouraging that silver activity, but I'm a bit worried that because of the decent stamp of the fish, sort of 4, 5, 6 ounce fish, too much commotion could be damaging the swim in terms of big perch. I mean, they'll come in looking for the smaller stuff feeding, but you know, these are quality roach, so I've decided to stick it out for a bigger perch now on both sides. So I've got a shrimp down the left where we've had the one perch, and I'm now going with a prawn on the right, and we'll see which outfishes the other. Hopefully might get one on each, but you never know, that's perhaps getting a bit greedy. We'll see. As you can see, I'm clouding over a bit behind me, and that's good. The lower light levels should encourage the perch to start having a mooch about. So let's see what we get on the shrimp and the prawn. And these are the hooks I'm using. G-points, very sharp, barbless hook, strong, and fishing them to a £5 14 ounce bottom. That's a bit weaker than the £6 main line. 0.15 for those who go off diameter, unlike me. It definitely feels like a different day now. If anything, the breeze has strengthened. The sky's clouded over and the sun's sinking lower. Still got a good hour or so to go yet, so plenty of time, but conditions are starting to feel more promising. Would you believe it, folks? Just lost a really nice perch. Oh, on the shrimp, left hand rod, and got it to the surface. Really solid looking fish, chunky. Not a record breaker, but easy £2 plus, and it's thrown the hook right at the net. Gutted I couldn't show it to you, but it just goes to show that they will take the shrimp. There's a few fish about, and you can probably tell the light levels are now dropping. Got about 45 minutes left, and this is the period I would expect more bites. Got the bite, just couldn't land the fish, so a bit gutted about that, but we're 1-1 in terms of bites. Still 1-0 to the prawn in terms of perch landed. Just hope I get a chance to get another one before time runs out. Yeah, just had a whistle blow for the end of a match, a couple of lakes down, and I was just chatting to a carper who's packed up and headed for his car. It's only about 3:15, so probably got about another half hour max before I have to pack up and leg it back to the car park. Got to be out there by 4. This really is exciting fishing, knowing that there could be a big perch down there. It really is worth getting out, giving it a go. Well, we're into the last 10 minutes and it's like watching a tennis match. had little indications on both floats. I'm keeping both of them going because there's so little time left. Yeah, I had a few knocks on both and just trying to keep an eye on them. Running out of time now. That is what I call last gasp. Very last cast. Wow, what an unbelievable end. Very last cast. Not a monster, but Christmas perch. Right, last knockings. Final cast. Got to get going now. But that is a win. Win for the prawns. Get that dorsal up. I hope you've enjoyed watching till the end. I've certainly enjoyed fishing till the end. Time to get home to the Christmas tree, the family and the warmth. Happy Christmas.